ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, has put out a 53-man roster projection for your Seattle Seahawks. And on today's show, we are going to go over some of the notable players that they have Seattle moving on from that do not make the 53-man roster. We'll tell you who those individuals are, react to it, break down the numbers in just a matter of moments. Tyler Jones, your fearless leader, here with you. Thanks for joining us. So, in case you missed it, folks, between now and kickoff of the first preseason game against the Raiders, we are doing a sub-battle between Seahawks Today and the Raiders Report to see which one of our respective channels can pick up the most new subscribers. We don't just want to beat the Raiders on the football field. We want to beat them off the football field as well and show why we have the best fans in the National Football League. For daily Seahawks news and rumors, live shows, watch parties for every game this season, you got to be subscribed to the channel. Doesn't cost you a thing. Absolutely 100% free. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. Subscribe now. You'll be glad you did. Who's in? Who's out? On this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, we are going to go over 5 notable players that ESPN is projecting that the Seahawks will cut and not make the 53-man roster when that is announced here in just a few weeks from right now. So without further ado, let's get started with Jake Bobo, a fan favorite. The more Bobo movement, no more, according to ESPN's Brady Henderson, as he's projecting that Seattle will ultimately cut ties with Jake Bobo. Moving on from Jake Bobo will save the Hawks just over $1 million against the cap. And Jake Bobo, it's a fantastic story, right? Former UDFA out of UCLA. He is so tall. He looks like Barron Trump on the football field. I mean, he is something else, right? 6'4", 207. But he's not the fastest guy in the world, and we haven't seen him be overly productive in his first 2 seasons in Seattle. Last year, 13 total catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. And what this comes down to for me, and this is where I agree with ESPN, I think Jake Bobo gets cut, and the big reason why doesn't necessarily have to do with Jake Bobo. It has to do with the player you signed this offseason, Steven Sims Jr., the former Kansas Jayhawk, Rock Chalk, wide receiver. He's played for a couple different teams. He's very fast. He's very good on special teams as well. I think it's a decision that Seattle has to choose between Bobo or Sims. And likely on the receiving front, you're probably going to get similar production between the two of them. But Sims offers more with his ability on special teams. I think this is the right decision. I think this is what Seattle will do. If it comes down to it, of choosing who gets that last roster spot, I think Sims is the right choice. I like Sims more, and I think the Seahawks are going to like Steven Sims more than Jake Bobo, in all honesty. Pick one to keep. Our pinned comment today. Would you rather keep Jake Bobo or Steven Sims Jr.? Type Bobo for Jake Bobo, more Bobo, or type Sims for Steven Sims Jr. Let us know which one you rather have on the roster. Next up, another player that ESPN is projecting the Hawks will cut is offensive lineman Mike Jerrell. Mike Jerrell was drafted not too long ago by this Seahawks team. We did see him get some playing time last year. You're not going to save a ton of money from moving on from Mike Jerrell. And just a heads up for the players we're talking about today, you're not saving much at all with these players that ESPN is projecting miss the roster. About $960,000 is what you're looking at saving from moving on from Mike Jerrell. Last year, played in 10 games. His grades weren't that great. A 46.4 overall grade, 54.8 pass block grade, 49.5 run block grade. Got called for 6 penalties, 3 sacks. Those numbers pretty high for a guy that didn't get a ton of playing time. But the truth of the matter is this: Seattle has better options. This offensive line is a much better group than what it was a season ago. And with what you've invested in that offensive line, you don't have to hang on to dead weight like Mike Jerrell. I think that he could potentially still be on the practice squad, and maybe he gets a promotion later on in the season, but I don't think he's somebody that you have to have. I think you can live without him. even if you carry 10 offensive linemen like ESPN is projecting here, there probably still isn't a spot for Mike Jerrell at this point. Let's go to the defense now, and this is where we find another player that wasn't drafted too long ago, former Auburn corner Nehemiah Pritchett. The Seahawks are projected to cut ties with, according to ESPN. Same number there, not a ton of money you're saving, about $960,000 from moving on from Nehemiah Pritchett. We saw him play at about 10 games, mostly on special teams last year. Didn't do a ton, 12 tackles, 1 pass breakup, no interceptions. I'll say this, though. With what Seattle has done to invest in the position, with bringing in Shaq Griffin, obviously Josh Jobe had a breakout season last year. Of course, you have Spoon and Rick Woolen here. This is not a bad thing if you're cutting Nehemiah Pritchett, in all honesty. And it might not be the end of the road for Nehemiah Pritchett either. He could be a guy that I could see maybe doesn't make the initial 53-man roster, but goes to the practice squad. And if there's an injury or whatever it may be, that he gets the call up as somebody that already knows this defense potentially. So with that said, doesn't mean we're not saying goodbye just yet. It could be we're saying we'll see you down the line as far as that goes. Who's a player the Seahawks should cut? Who is on the chopping block? Your chance to weigh in and tell us in the comments section. Who would you like to see Seattle move on from? Tell me who comes to mind in the comments section below. Up next, we find safety Jerrick Reed II, drafted a couple years ago out of New Mexico. And Jerrick Reed was somebody that looked very athletic coming out of New Mexico. He looked like he could be a sneaky good draft pick, but then injuries got in the way. And if you move on from Jerrick Reed, you're looking at saving about $1.03 million against the cap. Last year was not on the field a ton as he was dealing with those injuries. He's not the biggest guy either, especially at the safety spot at 5'9", 196, 3 tackles, no interceptions, and no pass breakups. And it's just a health thing for him. He can't stay healthy. And Seattle is loaded now at the safety spot when you talk about Julian Love, your Pro Bowl safety, Kobe Bryant coming off a breakout season last year. You bring in Nick Eamon-Wari here. Just doesn't look like there's a spot for Jerrick Reed, especially if he's going to be a liability health-wise. I think this makes sense to move on from him. We got one more name to get to, but we want to know who's a player the Seahawks should keep. Who comes to mind? We've talked about some players that could be cut. Maybe you want to see Jake Bobo stick around potentially. Give me a name in the comment section below that you'd like to see Seattle move on from. We have an insane deal, my friends. You see this cutoff Seahawks hoodie? At one point in time, it was $55. But I said, no way, Jose. Let's lower it down to $33. I'm a man of the people. I'm looking out for you like Bill O'Reilly. Get this cutoff hoodie on sale now at chatsports.com. So Seahawks sale. All sorts of different shapes and sizes available for your liking. All in one place, chatsports.com. So Seahawks sale. We also have other Seahawks merchandise available at that same link. Go see for yourself. Chatsports.com. So Seahawks sale to get yours today. Last on our list, Josh Ross, linebacker, former UDFA out of Michigan. Mike Macdonald brought him into Baltimore. He followed him to Seattle. And moving on from him is going to save you about $1.03 million against the cap. Josh Ross, great story, being a former UDFA. Played in all 17 games last year. But you look at this linebacker room of what Seattle has, it's something where you just don't have space. I mean, the lockers are full, right? When you talk about Ernest Jones, fully healthy now, Tyrese Knight looking really good last year when he became a starter, and you still got some other guys there. I still think he can be like a practice squad player. I don't think that means that his time in Seattle is necessarily over with, and maybe they could potentially promote him back to the active roster if there's an injury. But I think he's just a practice squad guy, and that's okay with me as far as that goes. Doesn't necessarily mean we've seen the last of him. Total cap savings, if you follow these cap cuts that ESPN is projecting here, it saves you about $5 million. I know Seattle's got plenty of cap space to their disposal. But $5 million, that could go a long way potentially. We'll see. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. For continuing Seahawks offseason coverage, subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.